It's a harsh reality where the fact of the matter is, even if I had everything that I did want by this point in my life, there's a good chance it still wouldn't even make me happy. I feel like people have so much like misconceptions about what it means to be like happy in things. Because although things are pretty rough for me as far as like content creation goes, like they're rough for everybody I think, but especially for newer content creators or like smaller content creators, things are just pretty rough. Like it seems like everything is actively trying to get worse. It really does seem like literally every single platform is just having this an extremely competitive race to the bottom. Like YouTube killing people's viewership because now if they're using ad blockers, it doesn't count as a view, which is bad for algorithm reasons. It's also just bad for morale as far as people actually being energized to make content. It's a little hard to make content or want to make content if you know, no one's watching your stuff and you're of course pouring so much of yourself into each piece of content, but no one's watching it, so it's hard to want to do anything. Payment processors are harassing content creators. We have to deal with like the threat of COSA and all these other things for like censoring certain bits of content creation and things. Unfortunately, I feel like we're entering or have been in like the sort of dark ages as far as content creation. Interestingly, when there weren't as many rules, content creation was a lot more fun and a lot more doable. But the more it got more and more corporate, well, unsurprisingly, things got just worse and worse and worse. But there's effectively no safe haven as of right now to go to in order to try and find a place to actually be creative. On top of that, just the entire sort of like content creation space itself is just not fun anymore. People are so fixated on the money, the fame, and no one's here because they want to be creative. People are here because they have an ego. They have like an ego quota to match with. Yeah, and even Patreon is a difficult one right now. So yeah, like Patreon is giving me a hard time. There's literally no safe haven as of right now to go to if you want to be a content creator, especially if you're someone that just wants to kind of do their own thing and doesn't want to have to do all these trends that people are doing. And don't get me wrong, some trends are fun. I see, you know, like because I do react content, I see certain videos that are like, oh, this is a fun one to react to, but then there's a lot of them that are just like, I don't really feel like reacting to that one, you know? Or there's a big topic and yeah, I just don't feel like discussing that. Yeah, but I'm usually not the first one to do like a react video on whatever it is that I'm reacting to. I do, for a reason, react to things that people have already reacted to, because can never really know, you know, can never really tell how people are going to be, especially like certain content creators who just do not want anybody to at all give their opinion on anything that they do. And it's not like I have the money for a legal team to fight back for me, you know? So the interesting thing is, despite all the difficulties that I've been having as a content creator, I am still somehow managing to do pretty decent. I am at a point now where I'm making a bit of like, at this point, minimum wage, if not like a bit more than minimum wage, using like combine the money that I'm making from my other little job and content creation. I am making as much if not more than minimum wage at this point, which is pretty fucking good, to be honest. Like, that's not a bad deal. It's obviously not necessarily ideal, especially in this day and age. I can't exactly live by myself if I wanted to. But considering there's a lot of people that are just not even able to get a fucking job, not even a job interview after applying, like, we're not in too rough shape compared to what we could have been, you know? Things could absolutely be a lot worse. So, might not be where we want to be, but we are in better shape than quite a few people these days. But the funny thing is, it's a weird thing to come to terms with, where the sad reality is, because of just how I am as a person, and also just how we're taught here in America. We're taught basically to just work every single day until the day we die, and if we don't do that, then we've failed as humans. Unless I guess you're a woman, in which case either work or settle down and have babies. But there's no real middle ground between those two things, it seems like. Because of our upbringing and because of just my expectations of myself, it's a harsh reality where the fact of the matter is, even if I had everything that I did want by this point in my life, there's a good chance it still wouldn't even make me happy. And it's a bit of a frightening thing to have to realize about yourself, that even if you had everything that you want, there's that risk that you are still gonna feel some sort of void, like your heart's never gonna actually be fulfilled. Like for me, don't get me wrong, I absolutely feel a sense of relief that, like, you know, again, not where I want to be, especially as a content creator. I've been doing this for 6+ years at this point, and there is a sense of relief that, you know, things are actually improving, even despite all the difficulties. But there is this insatiable, not just hunger, but a rage that continues on all the time. And nothing seems to fix it. No amount of fulfillment, no amount of friendship, no amount of community, nothing seems to work. And especially money. Like, money is nice in the moment, and then it's like, well, I'm not even gonna spend that. Like, cause I can't spend that. What if I need it for something else? And so it's like, well, if the one thing that I thought was going to help me, and that's actually being fulfilled in my career and everything, if that's not helping, then what will? And maybe it just comes with age, that some people just eventually kind of chill out or something. But unfortunately, that does kind of mean that things are a little bit miserable, at least in some sense. Again, it feels so weird, because I'm in the best shape that I've ever been. I'm probably the healthiest I've ever been. I have way more community, more money. Sure, I guess I don't have like a serious partner or anything like that, but I'm not, like, as much as I would love that, I don't want to rush into it either. And it's strange because I have way more than most do, I would say. Having my health, I have effectively no severe health issues, which is insanely rare, I would say. Every time I talk to anybody, they're like, yeah, I'm dealing with this thing that I was born with, or that I inherited. And it's like, for me, the worst things I have to deal with are probably eventually cancer. But everyone in my family that's gotten cancer treatment has survived, so I'm assuming my chances are pretty decent. Especially by that point, science is going to be even further along, you know? So I'm not nervous about that. I'm just going to be like, oh, well, it's my turn then. But I have family, community. I'm likely never going to have to worry about buying a house. I mean, my mom has already told me that I'm going to inherit the house. So I'll always have some backup plan. It's like, realistically, I should be one of the happiest people around, but it's just like this insane expectation that we put on ourselves and society puts on us since before we can even conceptualize what it means to have money. Like, before we even can understand why we need the education everybody is stressing to us about, and why we need the good job that everyone wants us to have, we're just told that we need this stuff in order to exist on a basic level. Now we live in an era where neither of those things are really all that achievable, and so we all kind of start like, well, I guess we failed? And what's more is, everyone's just kind of pointing fingers at each other at what is causing it. And it's like, we all realistically should know who's causing it, and they're the ones that are evading every bit of responsibility as much as possible. People at the very top, so we're all just angrier. Yeah, I've definitely thought about leaving the US quite a bit. At this point, I'm like, well, the house is here, and my family is here. But even if job opportunities are better elsewhere, I still probably wouldn't leave the country. Every place has issues too, like every single place in the world has issues. So I'm not even confident that me moving anywhere would necessarily make me happier. I think it would just make me lonely. Especially because the only other country that my family knows anybody in is a country that I'm very not eager to go back to. Well, not that I've ever been there, but I'm not exactly willing to go back to a place that has a history of gangs and gang violence. But at the same time, it is an interesting scenario of, well, everything seems to be not so great, but what is the alternative? Like, are we supposed to just lie down and accept that things are awful, or move forward? That's the thing that pisses me off the most, is when people kind of just lie down and accept that things are bad. I can never be with anyone that's like super nihilistic or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, there are points where I've been a bit cynical, you know? Things go wrong, posts don't do as well as I would like. Maybe something breaks and now that's another few $100s I have to spend just to get that going. But I refuse to believe that there is nothing that people can do to make things better for themselves. Especially first, I would say probably starting first and foremost is your health. Grandparents got the best and the rest of us had to pick up the slack. Yeah, in their eyes. It's always a funny thing to me, isn't it? That we're like, so many of us are called lazy, yet we're literally having to work like 2 to 3 times more hours than they ever needed to live a basic life. I am a big believer though that things will improve. I really do. I really do think that things will improve. Like the world as a whole will improve. The economy and everything, the state of politics and everything. I do believe it will improve. To me, it's not a matter of when, it's just a matter of how. With or without revolution. And that's the dangerous part. I had to give up my dream job. This sucks. Gotta do what you gotta do to survive. For a change to occur, we need to open their eyes. However, most people would rather have their heads buried in the sand. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, opening your eyes means having to look at the world in a different way than what you're used to, and nobody wants to do that. Often because no one wants to believe that the way that they saw things were wrong, or were in such a way that could have been better than what they understood. But to me, it's more of a matter of, I don't care about it being wrong, I care about it being better. It's not a personal attack to me to admit that I was ever wrong or anything. I was just going by what the information at the time told me. But yeah, what were you saying? I do think people have a misunderstanding of what happiness means, and a lot of us are just also trying to break through it as well. Because it matters a lot less about what we have and what we don't, and just how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. It's easier to attain things than it is to understand that we may never have all of the things that we were promised as kids, and that's okay. But yeah. I do think things will improve for the general population. I think that a lot of it just comes down to like reflecting and understanding that not everything that we ever want needs to be attained, and being happy with what we have versus what we expected of ourselves. Also just kind of coming to terms with reality as well, because people are so dishonest about everything. Like, social media has really fucked over what people have come to understand about how the world works. People think that like it's just a normal thing for like an 18-year-old or like a 25-year-old to become a millionaire. I mean, it's been like an exposed thing, hasn't it? Anytime some like rich kid shows up, like a 25-year-old shows like their tour of their mansion, and it's just like, you could just look up like a mansion and that guy probably just rented it for a video that got like a few million views on TikTok or something. Statement is true, but I can't accept it. I've done paleontology for my entire life as of now, and I can't let that go. I won't. I have studied this topic since I was 2 years old. Oh, I don't mean to like give it up, don't get me wrong. I'm in the position where the only reason I can even do what I do as a content creator is because of my family. Like, I got my mom's blessing. Like, she saw me, like, I've literally gone to her crying, wondering if she loves me, because I was just like, I don't understand why you haven't given up on me. Gone to her several times asking her what she thinks of me, because I can't fathom the idea that she doesn't consider me a complete failure. But she has told me multiple times that she knows that this is the thing that I want, and she doesn't care. She wants me to be happy, and she knows that this is the thing that's important to me, so she lets me do it. She's less concerned, like, all she wants for me is just to be happy with whatever it is that I choose to do. But if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't be able to do all this the way that I have. I'm not saying to give up on your dreams or anything like that, but when I began, I thought that it was way easier than it actually was, because everyone that I saw that was doing it was like making Patreons that were, you know, able to pay their rent within like the first year of starting their thing. And here I am. If it wasn't for nepotism with my uncle who gave me a job, I wouldn't be able to afford, you know, I wouldn't be making, like, that job is like half the money that I make, you know? Like, I'm someone that did not really get to where I am strictly off merit. When I say that we need to accept that things aren't going to be the way that we thought, I don't necessarily mean giving up on dreams. I just mean that I thought that this was going to be way easier than everybody seemed to make it out to be. You know, because we only ever do really see the success stories. But reality is things maybe it will take a bit longer for some of us to get to where we want. And that's not like an uncommon story either, even in the success stories that we know of. I think one of the most successful like comedians of our time right now is Bill Burr. But Bill Burr didn't really even like, Bill Burr is like super well known now, but how old was he by the time that like we actually like really all started to know him? He was like 35, 40 almost by the time that, you know, people started to realize his talent. And you look at his older stuff, it wasn't that he wasn't funny, it's just it took him longer to get to where he was for some reason or another. Yeah, mid-30s. And like, people are literally comparing Bill Burr to be on like the level of Dave Chappelle and George Carlin. Or like, obviously two of the biggest, like he's up there, like that's at the level of effectively Cosby back before everything happened. Like Bill Burr would tell you, like you listen to his stories and he's talking about living in like, just like a rundown apartment with nothing but a futon in it, you know? Like, it's not uncommon for people to have a quote-unquote late start, but we don't hear those stories. Like even, I think like Jim Carrey, like how old, like Jim Carrey, I think there was a video I remember seeing of him where it's like, yeah, to me Jim Carrey's always been like Jim Carrey, like there's no, Jim Carrey to me is like one of the best actors, comedians, and honestly at this point a philosopher. But there was a good while where people didn't take him seriously. He wasn't seen as the icon that he is now. And again, he's been an actor for like since he was a kid. Yeah, early 40s. That to me is a crazy idea, because it's just like everything I've ever seen of him has been like, that's Jim Carrey, that's the best, one of the best ever to exist. It's weird to me, the idea that that there was a time where people didn't take him seriously, that he didn't have all that fame. But it's, again, it's like relative. Like, what even does it mean to be successful? Do you have to be famous? Do you have to be on the level of Bill Burr and Jim Carrey? Do you have to, like, discover, in the terms of paleontology, do you have to discover something for it to be taken seriously? Or is it just a standard that we set for ourselves? And the interesting thing is, like, when I look at, you know, VTubers, ASM artists and stuff, I look at them and I'm like, man, I don't know how they do it. Like, what am I doing wrong? And then I like watch their stuff and like hear them talk about their stuff a bit more. I'm not someone, like, I've done voices all my life, never seriously, but I've done voices all my life. But the people that like are particularly known, they've been acting since they were children. And it's like, well, of course they're going to be like, of course when they put it to YouTube, it's going to be that much easier for them. And then I'm expecting to have like that level talent and that level, like they also sometimes go to like college or school to understand marketing. And I'm comparing myself to that. Like, what sense does it make for me to compare myself to someone that has years of experience prior to even doing anything, and then I jump in thinking that I'm going to be on the same level as that immediately? We only ever see the part where they succeed. We don't see the years of what it took to get to that point. To circle back to what we've been trying to convey this whole time, people have this misconception of what it means to be happy. People think that having what they want is going to make them happy. And accepting that you're maybe never will have some of those things is fine. That doesn't mean to necessarily give up on your dreams. But understand that things just aren't going to play out exactly the way that you want, and that's fine. You maybe never will have like the big mansion that you're hoping for. Maybe you'll just get like a pretty decent condo or like a small house with like a backyard, and that will be fine. Maybe you'll never become an award-winning scientist in whatever field you're trying to study, but if you can make money off of, like, enough money to afford rent off of any sort of scholastic thing, like that's a pretty successful person in my eyes. I'm not expecting anyone to become the next Neil deGrasse Tyson, but if you're in a scientific field that's able to make rent off of studying the human mind, studying insects or plants or anything like that. That to me is like, that's already far beyond successful to me. But unfortunately, as kids, especially again in America, and I feel like even like more and more in Europe and stuff, people have come to the understanding that happiness comes from something that you can physically attain, rather than just the fact that sometimes being able to wake up in an area that's safe enough to live in and is functional enough, and you have like a decent community, like that should really be all that it really takes to be happy, rather than having the biggest YouTube channel or being the biggest creator, being the next Einstein or whatever field. And again, I do believe that things will get better. For me, it's not a matter of when, it's just a matter of how. Because unfortunately, a lot of people are getting restless and are willing to make some very dangerous things happen. It feels especially weird as a content creator. And I although I have seen recently a lot of content creators kind of be a lot more honest about it. Not just in terms of like how much money they make, but also just in terms of where they are mentally. There's a lot of content creators who I see, and some people might think it's like, oh well, they're just being ungrateful or whatever, they're just like not understanding how good they have it. But it's like, yeah, that content creator might have, you know, might be making literally tens of thousands of dollars a month. But it's like, it doesn't matter that they have that. Like, yeah, cool, they don't have to worry about going hungry. It's, you know, great for them. But if they feel emotionally starved, if they feel like they're a burden to their family or their friends, if they feel like they're not deserving of whatever they have, it doesn't matter what they do physically have, they're gonna be miserable anyway. Lead a team. I mean, yeah, I would say that's still attainable, even if you have to survive in the moment and stay up for a while to do so. I don't think anyone should give up on that. But yeah, I don't think anyone should give up on their dreams necessarily, because you never know when it's gonna happen. And for me, I don't know, it feels weird saying it out loud because, I don't know, people maybe get the wrong idea of what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to make myself be like a hero or anything like that, but again, the reason I'm even here isn't because I'm trying to be a hero. But I remember growing up on the internet, and I was literally so fucking like impossible to raise. I was basically unable to communicate anything. Like, I could talk, yeah, but I couldn't say anything that I wanted to say because I was so angry all the time, and I was so in my head all the time that like YouTube was like the only way that I could really connect with anybody anymore. And so I would say like where I am and how I function as a person is basically an amalgamation of like so many different creators that I've watched over the years, like Game Grumps, CNanners, Hutch, Heather Feather, Mr. Sark. I'm like a 1,000 minds put together, and I know how difficult things are, especially like when you feel like you're alone. So for me, it's not about, I just want to be a place that's like can be relaxing but also be thought-provoking, especially now when everybody's so angry at each other. Like, no one really wants to think about anything. People just want to hear people like echo their own beliefs already that they have. Yeah, I get so fucking angry whenever I see people that are just like, you can just tell that they're not content creators because they care about content creation. They're here because they don't want to work a 9-to-5, and it's like, I get not wanting to work a 9-to-5, don't get me wrong, but chances of you getting a comfortable life from content creation is so low that it's like the only reason you should be here is because you actually care, not because of the money or because of the fame. Chances of you getting rich and famous off of this is so low that at that point it's like, why are you even here then? You could be doing so much else to like get fame or get money if that's really what your concern is. But like if I did really pursue even with like the advancements of AI and stuff, if I did pursue like electrician work the way that I had planned, or becoming a English, Spanish, Japanese translator, I would be making way more money than probably most people in my family. But it wasn't the thing that I was really that passionate about. I wanted to. I like the idea of it. I still like the idea of it, but it wasn't the thing that I really cared for. Again, it always feels weird just being like, yeah, I do this, and it's like a selfless thing, because again, I'm not trying to like make myself seem like a good person. I'm a decent person at best. I've made my fair share of mistakes. I live in a very interesting era.